Ready? So, Steph, we're here at University of Southern California,
hmm
which you work for,
hmm
and we met at this nonpartisan political event
hmm
at the is it
USC Dornside,
Dornsife Center.
USC Center for Political Future under Dornside.
hmm
Yes.
So, what do you think about American politics? Where are we right now? Where are
Uh,
we heading? How do you feel about that?
it's a very complex question, I guess. Like American politics right now is like a very precarious place. But that's politics in every single generation, you know. Uh, I focus more so on participation and civic engagement. I
hmm
think it's like probably one of the biggest thing for
Yeah.
American politics. I feel like a lot of people are disengaged or feel disengaged because they feel like their voices aren't being heard. But that's really indicative of like the system itself. We have very low participation rates in America. Like if we had 70-80% of participation rate, I think we can actually make an assessment of where American politics is and where American politics is going to go. But we really don't. The largest voting bloc in the U.S. is the non-voters. So like, how can we make a judgment of where American politics is and what American politics is going to go when it's such a few amount of people who are really being taking part of the process and having the voice? So I think really the big thing that we have to do is try to open up the system, try to do things to democratize the system by making voting easier, more accessible. Make sure that we have parties that aren't just talking to people when it's election season, but
hmm
talking to people throughout the year
Yeah.
to explain to them why it's important to vote. Like I necessarily don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. I care if you vote because voting is your chance to have your voice heard. But it doesn't just end with voting. It goes to talking to your representatives. It goes to, if you don't like something, say something. I feel like a lot of people are dissatisfied about the system, but they just say that they're dissatisfied.
They don't
What
do
are, what are you
anything
doing? I when
because
I
they feel like if they go out and vote, their voice doesn't matter anyways.
But voting is one aspect of it. Politics is like we hear this all the time. Politics is a combat sport, and it is. It's a combat sport, and you have to be part of the process at every single level. If you don't like something, you speak up. If you don't like how your elected official is doing something, send an in letter. If you don't like how they're governing, run against them. Even if you don't win, be that person that's holding them accountable. And I feel like a lot of people forget how much power you have as one person, and it really just takes one person to be brave enough to speak up to get the ball rolling.
I think, well, I think it takes more than one person to get things in democracy.
In a democracy, but
But you
it
can have one
starts.
leader
Yeah,
that inspires
it
a bunch
starts
of
with one person.
people, like
It's
Martin
yeah.
Luther King. It's important to lead. Yeah, I agree. So, who are you gonna vote for in 2024?
I don't know yet. Like the election is so far away, we don't know who the candidates
I think
are.
we sort of know. Unless
We
someone
do.
dies, we sort of know.
We sort of know. But like I generally do think it matters. I don't think who I vote for matters more so than me getting people out to vote. I think like that's a dichotomy that like we focus on like who people are voting for and not enough focus
Yeah.
on are we getting people to vote. Because one thing that a lot of times people forget is that like focusing on that is just going to get the people who already know how the process works engaged. But if we do things like engage with people who don't go to the polls at all, engage with the people who were on and off voters, and try to get them part of the process, that's a much bigger change that you're going to get than just focusing on the people who are already engaged.
Yeah.
But like, I understand it's really hard sometimes because campaigns lack resources. Campaign seasons are really long. Uh, People focus on strategic voting. People and voting sometimes is pragmatic. Sometimes you have two candidates who you don't like, but you vote for the candidate who
Lesser of two evils.
lesser of two evils. And
And it
it's
also takes time to do your research and get informed as to who are all the candidates that are running for the
and
office. What are their chances?
I think that falls on the candidates and the system itself where we aren't doing enough to fund voter education. We aren't doing enough to are we doing things like actually having material in different languages? Because I know for a fact that I'm not gonna say for a fact, but I do know one of the issues is that like there are a lot of people who are eligible to vote, but English might not be their first language.
Yeah.
Are we Do we give out campaign materials to them in their language? Do we offer assistance for them to know where to polling places?
Yeah.
Because when I was living in Massachusetts, I was living with my mom, and she's an American citizen. Her English isn't her first language. Uh, I had this is the first time she had to vote, and I had to be there to help her find her polling location, help her fill out a ballot, because French was her language, and none of the candidates did any voter, in turnout or any kind of voter engagement in French and Creole. And Boston has a very big Haitian American population, so like it didn't stick with me that like, hey, you probably have 5-10% of your constituents who are eligible voters, and you're not doing any outreach to them at all because you have this idea that they
Yeah.
don't care about voting, but there's a barrier that they have to face that you're not trying to, eradicate. So like I said, like we focus so much on the people who are part of the process and the people who are already engaged, who are going to continue to be engaged because they understand how important voting is. But the people who are dissatisfied, who don't know why it's important to vote, the people who have been sold this bill of goods that like voting is the only thing that you can do, and there are so many different ways to be part of the revolution or be part of the system to make things better. You don't always have to be at the protest. If you are an educator, you can educate.
Yeah.
If you're a singer, you can make music that inspires. If you're a writer, you can write books that inspire. Everyone can do their own part in their own way, and we just make it seem like everything's binary when it's not really
That's a
that
good
way.
point. That's a good point. There are various ways how people can contribute to improving our system,
Yeah,
and voting is one of them.
yeah,
It's a good point. Cool. Thank you.
yeah.
Good.
Good.